Today we're going to take a look at color schemes. So what exactly is a color scheme? A color scheme is a group of colors used together. It's often a combination of colors used in association with one another based on color theory. And we have looked at color theory in class. Now, to help you select your color schemes, as you can see here, I have several listed on our handouts. You're going to want to have your color wheel page from your sketchbook. And you're going to want to have this open to look at as we go through this. Also for this, you're going to need one of the two handouts. It's your choice as to whether you want to use the one with Starry Night on it or the turkey. And you are, of course, going to need some colored pencils for this. Now, the reason why we're working with color schemes is for our pop art. We had talked about how colorful pop art is, and these color schemes, and most of them will also allow you to get that contrast that we want to look at and play with in our composition. So it doesn't matter which one you're working with, they both work the same way. You'll notice there are 6 color schemes listed, and there is 6 divisions on each of these images. What you're going to do is, as it says here, you're going to complete the worksheet using colored pencils. You're going to fill in your chosen colors on the mini color wheel provided for each scheme, and you'll notice there's some dots on these color wheels to help you identify your colors. After you select your colors, you will need to use the color plus 1 tint and 1 shade for each color in the color scheme. And I put a reminder down here that tints are a color mixed with white and shades are a color mixed with black. So I'm going to work with this one. And our first color scheme is monochromatic. Now, our color wheel doesn't tell us what monochromatic is, but in our sketchbook, when we went over value and we did it with colored pencil, we talked about monochromatic. I just didn't tell you that term. That is when you use a color plus white and plus black. So this very first value scale we did with color, in which we used the true color of the pencil with nothing mixed into it in our medium value area, and then we mixed white into it to lighten it and black to darken it. This is a monochromatic scale. It's one color plus either white or black added to it to lighten it or darken it. So in my section here, what I'm going to do is choose a color of color pencil. I think I'm going with green, and I'm going to need white, and I'm going to need black. Now you're going to fill in this whole entire bar at the top here with your monochromatic color scheme. So I'm choosing green, so I'm going to record that on my little color wheel over here. And you only need to record the color you're using. You do not need to record any of the other colors on the color wheel. And it's right there at that dot. So I'm going to want some areas here that are pure green, and some areas that are green mixed with white, and some areas that are green mixed with black. So let me get a couple of these areas colored in, and then we'll take a look at some of it. Okay, so I'm going to try picking this up here a little bit. I know some of the lighter colors are a little bit hard to see. Let me see if I tone down the brightness. Some of them it's able to see. This one it's a little bit hard. I put a lot of white in that section with a little tiny bit of green. So I know on camera it's looking almost pure white there, but it is a very light green. And those of you who will see this in person will see that. But what I did was I took my single color, my green, and I have some areas of just green from the colored pencil. And I have some areas where I've mixed it with some white to create some green tints. And remember, the more white you put down, the lighter it's going to be. The less white, the more green color is going to be able to lay on top of it. So I have a couple of different values of tint. And then I also created some different values of shades by putting the green pencil down first and then the black over top. So we had talked about this when we were creating our value scales. When you want to mix the color with white, you want to put some white down first, add the color over top, because the white really isn't going to affect the color too much. You know, if I took some of the white, it might lighten it slightly, but it's really not going to show up. So you got to put the white down first and then put the color over top to make tints. And when it comes to black, you got to put the color down first, and you really have to watch your pressure with black, because black can easily overtake a color. So that's the monochromatic one. You're choosing a color, and then you want the tints and shades of each of the colors in the little mini color wheel. So since it's only one color, it's tints and shades of that one color. So when it comes to adjacent, this can be any set of colors you want. Does not have to go in the order of our color wheel. You know, this one doesn't have to be red, red, orange, orange, yellow, and so forth. It's just you're going to select 3 colors. So again, we have that little mini section in our color wheel, little wheel here, and remember that adjacent analogous area is that area cut out in the circle. And all you have to do is choose a color you like. So I'm going to come over here to blue-green, and wherever I place blue-green within this little cutout wedge will help me quickly identify my colors next to each other. So if I work with blue-green, and since I just used a lot of green in the other area, I'm going to do blue-green, blue, and blue-purple. So that means I am going to have to do a lot more color mixing. I'm going to, of course, choose a blue. And of course have my green, and I'm going to need purple or violet. Again, I'm not fussy with the name. And of course my white and black again. So let me sharpen my pencils and we'll talk about this one. Okay, so my first step here is, of course, to, in my mini color wheel, put my adjacent colors. So I want to work with blue-green. So I'm going to mix my blue and my green over here to create a blue-green. Now, we're just using the Sargent Art colored pencils in class here. If you have another set of colored pencils you would like use, and it has a larger range of color choices that maybe it gives you a blue-green color, then use them. Okay, but for our classroom sets here, we're going to have to mix. I want to use blue and of course blue purple. So I'm going to start with the blue because I'm using the light blue. And remember, even in colored pencils, when we're mixing, we want to start with the lighter color and carefully apply the darker color over top and mix them a couple of times to get our color. So I'm working with blue-green, blue, and blue-purple. So same thing I just did up here, but now I have 3 colors in which I need to create the color and the tints and the shades for it. So each 3 of these colors will eventually have an area that's mixed with white, an area that's mixed with black, and then of course the color directly from the pencil. So again, I'm going to quickly demonstrate this, and it doesn't matter what color you want to start with, but if I have an area where I select some pure blue, we talked about contrast a lot. So I may not want to put another blue area right directly near it. I could go to a different color, and whether that's the color directly from the pencil or I mix it with either white or black to create a tint or a shade. Again, that's a choice up to you. Since my blue is pretty light, I think I'm going to apply a shade of purple here. So I'm going to lay down some purple first. And I'm going to apply some black over top. And again, I want to watch my pressure with the black. Black, again, can easily take over the entire color. So you do want to watch your pressure when working with any color pencil or any color medium that involves pressure to mix the values together. You want to watch how much pressure you put on. So I'm going to lightly apply some black over top of my purple I applied there. And then I like to sometimes go back over it with the original color. Sometimes it helps blend it together a little bit more, or sometimes if I did get a little bit too much pressure, putting that other layer of the original color back over top might kind of go over top of the black a little bit, at least give it a slight hint that that color is there with the black. So that's what I'm going to do in this section, is work with my colors. So this is supposed to be blue purple, so I got to add some blue to this also. And I'm working with those three colors: blue green, blue, and blue purple. So there's a shade of blue purple. And remember, with our pencil sets we have here, they are not the most expensive. So that means they usually have a little bit more wax in them, and the buildup can grow quickly, meaning there will be eventually a point, and we talked about this earlier, that you put too much colored pencil in an area and other layers over top of it will not stick. So remember, always press light. You can always add more color onto here afterwards. But if you apply your first layer of color too heavily, then you may have troubles mixing other colors with it. So I'm going to do a section of blue-green here. And again, just work with tints and shades of all three of these colors. So far I have a pure blue, a pure blue-green now, and a shade of blue-purple. So I'm going to, after I'm finished here with the blue-green, and I'm sorry I had to do a voiceover here because the audio went a little goofy. I'm going to apply a tint of blue-green. So even though I already have an area of blue-green there, by applying the white first, as I mentioned before, it's going to allow me to keep my colors very light because the white's down first and I'm layering the colors over top of it. And that wax in the color pencil helps a lot of the pigment from the other colors from laying down. So I lay down a layer of white, I'm applying a layer of blue over top, and you can see it's starting to slightly tint that white into a light blue. And then of course I'm going to go over top with a little bit of green so I can have my tint of blue-green color. So as we work with this and we continue to work through this section, I'm going to make sure that I am working with that color scheme. So this entire color scheme is going to involve the colors of blue, green, blue, and blue purple. It's going to involve tints of blue, green, tints of blue, and tints of blue purple. And it's going to include shades of blue, green, shades of blue purple, and of course the colors directly from the pencils, just blue, green, blue, and blue purple. So I'm going to fill in a little bit more of these areas, and then I will talk to you here in a couple of minutes. And it would seem I'll have to continue with the voiceover here as the audio has just totally quit on me. So I didn't finish this section. Again, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but hopefully you're getting the idea that you're going to select colors for each of these color schemes, apply tints, shades, and the regular color to them. So in the next one is complementary. I'd pick 2 complementary colors. I again have that area in my sketchbook to help me identify those. That's that arrow in the center. So I'm going to select red and green for this section. So again, in the mini color wheel area, I am recording the 2 colors, and this time I went with the lighter green since I had been using the darker green. And of course, in this section, I will use red, I'll use green, I'll use tints of red, I'll use shades of red, I'll use tints of green and shades of green. So here I'm just going to quickly apply a small section of red and add a little black over it to create a shade of red. And then in a couple of seconds here, you'll also see where I will take my pencils and in another section create a tint of red also. So in the next section, I'm going to work with a triadic color scheme. Again, I'm going to refer back to our color wheel we have in our book. Remember, we have that center wheel that helps us identify quickly adjacent, complementary, and triadic colors. So remember, red and green are complementary. Blue and orange are complementary, and yellow and purple are complementary. And as I mentioned before, my example I have here in class of Captain America, he is a triadic color scheme using the primary colors because they create a triad. So I can use that triangle there to help me find them. So there's 4 triads on a color wheel. You have, of course, your primary colors, your secondary colors. There a second ago, I was pointing out one of your tertiary or intermediate color sets, and then you have a second tertiary intermediate color set of triadic colors. So in the triadic color area, you can use any of those 4 triadic color sets for practice on this worksheet. Now, since I have worked with the red, the blue, and the yellow primary color triad, I'm going to work with it here on the color sheet. So I am coloring in red at one of those dots identifying a triadic color, yellow at the next one, and blue at the next one. And of course, when I work with these in this section, I will have blue, and I will create red and yellow areas. And then I will, of course, have tints and shades of yellow. I will have tints and shades of red, and I will of course create tints and shades of blue in that section also. And in our next color scheme, we have the cool colors, and the last one is warm. You're not going to be required to do all 6 of the cool colors and all 6 of the warm colors. You can just choose 3 as to whether those 3 are adjacent, like I have above in the adjacent area of the blue, green, blue, and blue, purple, or you want to save a little bit of time with color mixing and you go to the, skip your tertiaries, skip your intermediates, and do green, blue, and purple in the cool, or red, orange, and yellow in the warm, you can do that. So remember, you have this marked off in your book, in your color wheel. There you saw where Miss Barnett realized that her one color wheel she mislabeled. But thankfully, the 3 that I have from your class periods were labeled correctly. And your warm colors are red, red, orange, orange, yellow, and yellow, green. And your cool colors are green, blue, blue, purple, purple, and red, purple. So if you really want to work with all 6 cool colors and all 6 warm colors in these 2 sections, you may do so, but you just need at least 3 of them. And again, just like everything else we have done, you want to record the colors you want to use on here. So if you are going to skip your tertiaries, as I am in my cool and warm section, you want to skip it in the color wheel in the mini version. So you see there, I colored green, I skipped a space, colored blue, skip a space, colored purple. And I'm going to do the same thing in the warm area. I'm going to identify my red area, color that in. I'm going to skip a space and add orange there, and skip a space and add yellow. That way, I know I'm just working with those primary and secondary colors on each half of those wheels, and I'm not involving the tertiary intermediates. And of course, just as we have talked throughout this entire handout, I will need to create tints of green, shades of green, plus green. I'll need to create tints of blue, shades of blue, and blue itself, tints of purple, shades of purple, purple itself, and in the warm colors, tints and shades of those 3 colors. And this is for both handouts, whether it's the turkey or the Starry Night handout. You're going to do the same thing. They both have the mini color wheels, and they both require the same practice. Apply the color according to the scheme, add the tints and shades.